All right. Hi, everybody. It's Tom Ladden-Ranta here of Tom Ladden-Ranta Coaching. And I'm really excited here to be interviewing Todd Goroshek of Empowered Men Coaching. Todd's got an incredible story. I'll let him tell it to you, but I was so inspired by reading Todd's story of how he made a big life change later in life and moved across the world. A lot of people think that can't be done. So I'm excited to hear Todd's story, for him to share it with you. So welcome, Todd. It's so good to have you here.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. Appreciate having this conversation with you today.
So just to get started, I'd love for you to share your journey into coaching, how you made this transition, how you ended up moving. I believe you live in Medellin. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah. I'm in Medellin, Colombia right now.
Yeah. So if you could just share like how you ended up in Medellin and how you got into coaching.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to. Thank you. So it didn't just happen overnight. It was a very long process and journey for me. And basically, I have done different things in my life. I've worked in corporate America. I've been a pharmacist, and I've done real estate. I've done a lot of things, and nothing was really fitting. And somewhere around 40, I hit the typical midlife crisis point, and I think it's real. I think that happens. I was just looking at my life, and I'm like, well, what am I doing? Where am I going? How's this going to work? And it was at that point that I seriously started to find opportunities, resources, people to help me figure myself out. And when I was able to do that through this process, I realized that I didn't enjoy being a pharmacist. That was the latest career that I had. And it paid well. It was a great job. I loved the people I worked with. They loved me. But I just didn't have enough juice. And the other thing that started to develop is I really wanted a non-US living experience. I wanted to live overseas for an extended period of time just to see how life is. And so through my personal development work, which was really intense from 40 to 45, and then from 45 to 55, I was actively involved helping other men informally. I just realized that I wanted to be a life coach. I wanted to help men recognize their full potential and step into it, even if it meant they needed to step out of whatever box they created for themselves. And, basically what I do is just a reflection of my own journey. I mean, that was a process I had to figure out. I mean, I had a secure job, I had a house and family, and I just had all this stuff that looked like all the stuff you're supposed to have. But inside, there was just something missing as far as some fire, some passion, some risk, some adventure. And I just decided I wasn't going to wait until I retired to try and capture all that stuff. So I went to life coaching school because I did realize I wanted to do a career change. I did that. And after I went to life coaching school and I was coaching some men, it really struck me. It's like, well, I need to walk the talk. And so I seriously looked at selling everything that we owned and moving to South America. And we did. We moved to Ecuador, my wife and my oldest son at the time. And we lived there for a few years. And now I'm in Medellin, Colombia. But it's a fantastic journey. And today, I mean, I wake up and I'm excited to do whatever it is that I'm going to do and whatever experience I'm going to have and however it's going to be created. And that to me is really worth everything. It's just really living on the edge of life. It's exciting.
Wow. That's amazing. And I love hearing that. And, I heard some of that before. And one of the reasons I wanted to interview you so much and share this with everybody in my network is that I've met so many people. I mean, I've struggled with this myself. It's too difficult to change. It's too scary. I like the certainty, the security that I have in this job or with this pension or whatever it may be. And I know so many people um, later in life, maybe the 40s, their 50s, their 60s, they say, well, it's too late for me to change. I've only got 5 years to go till I get my pension. I've only got 10 years, 15 years. I got to hang on. I can't leave this. And they've created this, like you said, a box for themselves. And it just, I'm so excited about the fact that you were able to make this change and move around the world, because it's an inspiration to other people that I don't have to settle for this life I'm living. I can make a change. I can change careers. I can move around the world. Like, it really is within your power, within your control to make that kind of a change. And so you're just such an example of what's possible, and to be sharing that with other people, helping other people discover that for themselves. That's incredible.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Basically, you hit it on the head as far as an individual's ability to deal with change. I mean, change is the only constant we have in life, because no matter how good things are, it's going to change in some form, or no matter how bad things are, it's going to change as well. So change is constantly present with us. And part of my process was getting comfortable with change, getting comfortable with the idea that I can change careers, I can change locations where I live, I can change what I'm doing, I can reinvent myself, I can participate in life in new ways. But change is like a muscle.
Mm.
It's not like, I woke up one day and I said, oh, tomorrow we're going to Ecuador, and tomorrow I'm quitting my job, and tomorrow, that didn't happen that way. For me, it was probably at least a 10-year process to get me out of my job into Ecuador. And that process involved getting very comfortable with the idea of change, and um, I guess finding and creating new experiences along the way before I made the big jump too. And so I think of change like a muscle. It needs to be exercised. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. And then it's not so big. It's not that big of a deal. Like, people who don't even travel outside their state, if you're in the US or something like that, and you're saying, well, hey, you know what? You could move to South America and you could live in a foreign country where they don't speak English and blah, blah, blah. It's way too much for them. It's like, if you're the person that you don't even travel very far from your home, take a trip, take one trip outside the country for a week. And that's how it happens. And you just build that up. And when you do that, when you get closer to the thing that you may want to do, you can see it better. And it's like, well, that doesn't look so difficult. That doesn't look so far away. That doesn't look so out of reach. And your mind starts coming up with ways to make it happen and create it.
Yeah, totally. I can definitely resonate with that, it's like baby steps that
Yeah,
you experience a little bit of change, and then the next bigger change doesn't seem so scary anymore.
right. That's exactly right. So,
So,
um,
I was just gonna follow it up, Todd, by asking, you mentioned a little bit about how you're sharing your experience of transformation or self-discovery. I forget the term you used, but you're sharing that with other men now. And I'm curious about your own experience with coaching, or what was it that happened that you experienced that made you want to get into coaching, or see the power of it? Like, what is your
yeah.
experience with coaching, I guess?
Yeah. So, as far as like the professional field of coaching, I was first introduced to it, I think, in 2006. I was at a conference, a wealth building conference, and I ran into this woman, and we're talking, and I said, "What do you do?" And she goes, "I'm a life coach." And I'm like, "What the hell's a life coach?" And so she explained it to me, and it was interesting. I mean, basically, it's like if you want to get better at something, you have a coach. You have someone who asks you the right questions, who provides accountability and helps you, to succeed toward your goal. Um, and then it was about a year later that I hired my first coach for myself. And in that process, I realized that if a man or a person, a woman, if you're working with someone who's asking you the right questions, you can figure out almost anything.
Mm.
And that is a very powerful place to be, because it's the exact opposite of being stuck. I mean, a lot of us try things in life and we think we want to do this or that, and we, go a few paces, proceed for a while. And many times, at least the people I speak with, and even in my own life, you get stuck, and then it's like, or you lose motivation or you lose focus. A coach helps keep you on track. And so that was the experience I had with coaches. Now, as far as the passion of coaching, I experienced that more in my self-development work, working in groups of men. And it wasn't professional coaching, but what was happening was essentially coaching. It was basically owning your shit, being responsible for it, being accountable for it, making decisions, and be willing to take ownership of the consequences, good or bad, for those decisions. And it was through that process that I became very passionate about the process of coaching, the idea of coaching, the power. I mean, I'm empowered men coaching. I mean, it's an empowered place when you work with a coach, and the coach doesn't do anything for you. You do it yourself, but you have that assistance, that help, that guide, that information. So, yeah.
Very cool. And Todd, I'd love to hear as coaches, we ask questions, powerful questions that get people to think. And so I'm curious if you wanted to ask a question of somebody who's feels like they're stuck in life, maybe later in life, maybe their 40s, their 50s, and they feel like it's too late to make a change, too scary to make a change. What might you ask them, or a bit of advice might you give that person just to begin to consider making a change?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I often do with the clients I have, when we come to a place that they're stuck, and it's either from fear to move forward or uncertainty to move forward, is I encourage them just to embrace the place they're at, the stuckness. And I ask them, okay, so you don't want to take this next step because it's scary and there's risk. And so you stay right here. And if you stay right here, what's going to happen next in your life? Well, maybe I'll be sad, or maybe I'll be unhappy. And then I ask, well, if you're going to live several years in that place, then what's going to happen? Well, maybe it's going to get worse. Basically, what happens is staying in the place you are is not going to get you what you want. And most often, it's certain it's going to leave you in a place that's worse off than where you are now. And I contrast that with, well, what if you take that step that you're afraid of? What might happen? Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll fail, or maybe I'll be laughed at, or maybe I'll just screw everything up. Like, maybe. What else might happen?
Yeah.
Wow, I don't know. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll get what I want. Maybe I'll make my life better. Maybe I'll have better relationships, better career, better whatever. It's like, yeah, the possibility exists over here, but there is no possibility in this track here where you stay where you're at. That usually helps get them to shift and take the risk, basically.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So kind of painting the picture of what the future is going to look like if nothing changes versus the possibility of what could be.
Yeah. And the key is possibility, Tom, like you said, because we know the route we're on that we're not happy with. There's fear, or there's something over here that we want, but there's fear, something getting in the way, and potentially it could all go to shit. But also true, this is where the possibility of everything exists.
Yeah.
I mean, when I left for Ecuador, when we left the country, everything could have went to shit, but it didn't, right? And that's the other thing. As people, we are whole, resourceful, creative. We can figure stuff out. So we go 5 steps and we've got a problem. At that point, you can figure it out. You go 5 more steps and you keep it going.
Wow. That's awesome, Todd.
Yeah.
Well, we got about 5 minutes left here in our interview, and I'll kind of leave it open to you. There's a couple things that I wanted to discuss. One was maybe how other people could benefit from coaching, what what somebody might seek out coaching from, like why they might approach you for coaching, what kind of issues they could get help with. And then the other question, I'll let you choose what you want to talk about for the next 5 minutes here. The other thing is like maybe share about your own coaching experiences and why it was worth it for you. Like you could even talk about how much you paid for coaching and what value you got out of it. Was it worth it or not?
Yeah.
But I'll leave it open to you.
Okay. Well, let me address your first question.
Yeah.
So the first question is, why would I tell someone coaching is important, or how would I explain to them why it's important? This is the deal. When we have someone else that's asking us important questions, good questions, it helps us expand the observer that we are, right? Because I only know what I know. I can only attack a problem so many ways, and then I don't know any more ways. I mean, it's just I've exhausted it. But when you have someone you're working with and they ask you powerful questions that get you thinking like, oh my gosh, I didn't even consider that, or that could potentially be a possibility, it allows you to expand the observer you are in the world. And when you can expand who you are, more possibilities open up. You see things that you just didn't see before.
Yeah.
That's the power of coaching, because that's how we get what we want. As far as my own journey, I've had several different coaches. Right now I have 2 coaches. I have 2 business coaches I'm working with. I totally believe in coaching. I have had coaches where I have paid them $1,000 a month. This was the most expensive. $1,000 a month. We met for 4 hours once a month. That was $1,000. It was good coaching. It was powerful in many ways. And I've also had coaching where, it's $500 a month, $400 a month. And that's also been good coaching, powerful coaching. The thing is, the price tag really isn't the determining thing. It's important to connect with your coach. It's important to have a resonant energy. And if you've got that going on, that becomes a powerful dynamic to create some really cool things. Just because someone says they're a great coach, or someone tells you, hey, this is a great coach and blah, 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 you need to figure it out yourself if that's the great coach for you, because you have to be in sync. And so I guess my advice is pay for the best coach you can afford, but also be getting the best coaching that you can that's working for you in your situation and in your life.
Yeah, excellent advice. I like that. I definitely found that as well in my own experiences, that if you connect, you need to have a connection with that person in order to feel like you can open up with them. There has to be that sort of that trust and that energy.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. Let me just touch on it real quick. So trust, and along with that, vulnerability. If a man, like when I'm coaching, if men allow themselves to go to the vulnerable place in their life, that is usually the transformative spot. That is usually the place where if we tease it out, we figure out what beliefs haven't been working for them, beliefs they may carry that they don't even understand. Tease that out, correct it, and boom, it's explosive.
Wow.
Yeah. Good point, Tom.
So Todd, is there anything else I haven't asked you that we should have discussed?
I can't think of anything right now. I mean, obviously, coaching is such a broad range, and there's so many things involved with it, different aspects of it. I think the important thing is, if a person is wanting to do something different in their life or better in their life, it's just important that that person be honest with themselves and say, yeah, no more bullshit. I need to do it. I need to move forward, and have that commitment. And if you're committed and you're working with an appropriate person, I mean, you can do it. There's nothing you can't do.
Wow. Yeah, I loved what you said there, and also what you said earlier about the different possibilities, and just seeing the possibilities that are available to a person. Because I firmly agree with that. And one of the things that I've learned, I did my coach training through Erickson Coaching, and one of the things that they talk about is the different human brains, right? And how we get caught up in our emotional brain. We get caught up in this, I feel stressed, I feel anxious, I feel worried and fearful, and we can't see outside of that. And what coaching allows us to do is, by asking the right questions, we are able to open up the person to see those possibilities, to get out of that emotional brain and to get into the visual brain where you see new possibilities, you see a different future for yourself. And that's where I've experienced and seen the power of coaching in other people's lives, is where you make that shift for that person, where they get out of that emotional state into that state of seeing different possibilities. And I can tell just by talking to you for this 20 minutes here that, you have this energy, you have this way of reaching people that you, just in listening to you here this short while, I can already feel your energy and see how you could get people seeing different possibilities for themselves. So I'm really happy and excited that I got to interview you, and that I got to share your message with everybody in my network. And yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today, Todd.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. And Tom, thank you. It's a privilege to be able to talk to you and to share what we can do as coaches and share our personal experience that we've had with it. So thanks, man.
Yeah, I look forward to connecting again in the future. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, bye-bye.